Victoria Hayes stood at the edge of the grand ballroom, watching crystal chandeliers cast dancing shadows across marble floors. The Connecticut estate buzzed with conversation, laughter, and the clink of champagne glasses. Everyone seemed happy except her. At 25, with auburn hair swept into an elegant twist and emerald eyes that refused to sparkle tonight, she felt like a prisoner in her own life. Her parents had planned everything perfectly. The party, the guests, the announcement. Tonight, they would reveal her engagement to Julian Westbrook, a wealthy businessman she had never met. Her father's company needed the merger. Her mother needed the social status. Victoria needed to disappear. A plan takes shape. She had been planning this for weeks. No phone, just cash and identification tucked into her small clutch. Her parents would track her phone immediately. She had to be smart about this. Her heart hammered as she watched her father move toward the center of the room. Preparing to make the announcement that would seal her fate, the side door called to her. She had noticed it earlier, partially hidden behind tall plants and ornate decorations. While guests focused on her father's booming voice beginning his speech, Victoria slipped through the door into the cool night air. Into the unknown, the driveway stretched before her, lined with expensive cars belonging to guests who celebrated her imprisonment. Her heels clicked against the pavement as she moved quickly between vehicles. She needed transportation, needed to get far away before anyone noticed her absence. A sleek silver car sat near the edge of the property, slightly separated from the others. The driver's side door stood open, keys visible in the ignition. Someone must have stepped away briefly. Victoria glanced back at the glowing windows of the ballroom. Now or never. She opened the back door and slid inside, crouching low behind the passenger seat. The leather interior smelled of pine and something else, something masculine and clean. Her dress, an expensive silver gown her mother had chosen, bunched awkwardly around her legs. She tried to quiet her breathing, listening to the muffled sounds of the party continuing without her. Minutes passed like hours. Her legs cramped in the uncomfortable position, but she stayed hidden. Then footsteps approached, confident and unhurried. The driver's door opened wider, and someone settled into the seat. The stranger, the engine purred to life. Victoria held her breath as the car began moving, gravel crunching beneath the tires. She had done it. She was leaving. Relief flooded through her, followed immediately by uncertainty about what came next. The voice startled her. Deep, amused, and completely aware of her presence. Most people ask permission before hiding in someone's car. Victoria's heart stopped. Slowly, she sat up, meeting eyes in the rearview mirror. Gray eyes, sharp and intelligent, belonging to a man who looked about 30. Dark hair fell slightly across his forehead, and a slight smile played at his lips. He did not look angry or concerned, just intrigued. "Please don't take me back," Victoria said quickly. "I'll explain everything, just please keep driving." Owen Sterling, he studied her in the mirror as he drove, navigating away from the estate with steady ease. Running from something, or toward something? Away, she admitted. "My family is forcing me into a marriage. Tonight was supposed to be the engagement announcement. I just needed to get out." The stranger nodded slowly. "Arranged marriage in this century, that takes some nerve on their part." Paused. "I'm Owen Sterling, by the way, since we're apparently road trip partners now. Victoria Hayes." She shifted, trying to smooth her dress. "I know this looks insane. I promise I'm not usually the type to hide in strangers' cars." Owen laughed, a genuine sound that eased some of her tension. "I believe you. That dress alone suggests you had other plans for tonight." He glanced at her again. "So, Victoria Hayes, where are we going?" She had not thought that far ahead. "Anywhere but here. The bus station, maybe? Train station. I have some money. Running away with just a clutch and an evening gown." "You really didn't plan this well." His tone held amusement rather than judgment. "Look, I have a place about an hour from here. Private, quiet. You can catch your breath there. Figure out your next move properly." Trust and hesitation, Victoria's instincts warred within her. Trust a complete stranger or risk being found by her family? "Why would you help me?" Owen shrugged, his hands steady on the wheel. "Maybe I don't like the idea of someone being forced into something they don't want." Maybe I'm just curious about a woman brave enough to hijack a car. He met her eyes in the mirror again. Or maybe I recognize desperation when I see it. Something in his voice convinced her. Perhaps it was exhaustion. Or perhaps it was the gentle way he spoke despite the bizarre situation. Okay, thank you. They drove in comfortable silence for a while, the city lights fading behind them. Owen occasionally glanced at her, and Victoria found herself studying him too. Strong jaw, confident posture, an air of someone used to being in control. Who was this man who found a runaway bride in his car and simply offered help? The estate trees lined the road as they turned onto a private drive. A house appeared through the darkness, smaller than her family's estate, but elegant in its simplicity. Stone and wood construction, warm lights glowing in windows. Surrounded by gardens she could barely see in the night, Owen parked and turned to face her properly. Guest room is upstairs. Kitchen is stocked. You're safe here, Victoria. Take whatever time you need. She climbed out of the car, her legs shaky after being cramped for so long. Owen walked beside her to the door, keeping a respectful distance. Inside, the house felt warm and lived in, so different from the cold perfection of her family home. Why are you really doing this? Victoria asked again as he showed her to a comfortable room with soft lighting and a large bed. Owen paused in the doorway, his expression serious now. Because everyone deserves the freedom to choose their own life. Get some rest. We'll talk more tomorrow. As the door closed behind him, Victoria sank onto the bed, her mind spinning. She had escaped, but into what? And who was Owen Sterling, really? One thing she knew for certain, tonight had changed everything. Victoria woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. For a moment, confusion clouded her thoughts before memory rushed back. The party, the escape, Owen Sterling. She sat up, still wearing the silver gown from last night, now wrinkled and uncomfortable. Her reflection in the mirror showed smudged makeup and tangled hair. She looked like what she was, a runaway. A soft knock at the door made her jump. Victoria? I left some clothes outside if you want to change. Breakfast is ready when you are. Owen's voice, steady and warm, reminded her that she was truly here, in a stranger's home, dependent on his kindness. She opened the door to find a neat stack of clothes. Soft pants, a comfortable shirt. Far too large for her, but clean and practical. 20 minutes later, dressed and somewhat refreshed, Victoria made her way downstairs. The house looked different in daylight, cozy rather than elegant. Books lined shelves, plants thrived in corners, and natural light filled every room. Owen stood in the kitchen, cooking eggs with practiced ease. Coffee? He offered, gesturing to a fresh pot. Please. Victoria accepted the mug gratefully, wrapping her hands around its warmth. Thank you for everything. The room, the clothes, not calling my parents. Learning to breathe, unplated the eggs and set them on a small table. Sit, eat, then we'll talk about what comes next. As they ate, Victoria found herself relaxing slightly. Owen asked gentle questions about her situation, never pushing too hard. She explained about her father's failing company, the merger with Westbrook Industries, the arranged marriage to Julian Westbrook. Never even seen a picture of him, she admitted. My parents just kept saying he was successful, wealthy, the perfect solution. Like I'm not a person, just a business transaction. Owen listened carefully, his gray eyes thoughtful. And what do you want, Victoria? Beyond escaping, the question surprised her. Nobody had asked what she wanted in months. I want to make my own choices. I want to decide who I spend my life with, if anyone. I want to matter as more than a signature on a contract. Then that's what we work toward. Owen leaned back in his chair. But running without a plan only gets you so far. Your family will look for you. They have resources, connections. You need to be prepared. Building strength over the following days, Owen became an unexpected teacher. He showed Victoria how to access money without being traced, how to recognize manipulation tactics, how to stand firm in negotiations. His approach was patient but direct, treating her like an equal rather than a helpless runaway. You're smarter than they've let you believe, he told her one afternoon as they reviewed basic legal concepts. They've kept you dependent because it serves them. Time to change that. Victoria discovered she enjoyed learning these practical skills. For years, her education had focused on art, music, and social graces, things that made her an appealing package for marriage. Now, she learned about contracts, rights, and autonomy. But it was not just education. Owen taught her physical confidence too. In the estate's garden, he showed her basic self-defense moves. It's not about fighting, he explained as he demonstrated a defensive stance. It's about knowing you can protect yourself if needed. Confidence changes everything. His hands guided her arms into position, his touch professional, but lingering just slightly longer than necessary. Victoria noticed how close they stood, how his presence made her heart race in ways that had nothing to do with fear. Growing closer, evenings became her favorite time. After lessons ended, they would cook together, talk about books and ideas, share stories from their lives. Owen spoke little about his own background, deflecting questions with humor. But Victoria learned he valued independence fiercely and disliked people who controlled others. "My family had expectations too," he said one night as they sat on the porch watching stars emerge. "Sometimes the hardest thing is disappointing people you love to save yourself." Victoria studied his profile in the darkness. "Do you regret it? Choosing yourself?" "Never." His answer came without hesitation. "Regret comes from living someone else's life, not your own." The connection between them deepened with each passing day. Casual touches became more frequent. His hand on her shoulder during lessons, her fingers brushing his when passing dishes. The air between them grew charged with unspoken attraction. One evening, as they cleaned up after dinner, Owen caught her hand. "Victoria, I need to tell you something." His serious tone made her pulse quicken. "What is it?" He seemed to struggle with words, unusual for someone normally so confident. "I care about what happens to you. More than I probably should, given how we met." Victoria's breath caught. "I care about you too. You've given me so much, not just shelter, but hope that I can actually take control of my life." The distance between them disappeared. Owen's hand moved to her face, his thumb brushing her cheek with such gentleness it made her eyes sting. "You're remarkable, strong and brave, and so much more than they tried to make you." She leaned into his touch, her own hand coming up to cover his. The moment stretched, heavy with possibility, until Owen pulled back slightly. "We should talk more tomorrow. There are things you need to know." The revelation the next morning brought tension. Owen seemed distracted during breakfast, his usual easy manner replaced by something heavier. Victoria watched him, concern growing. "What's wrong?" "Are you worried my family will find me here?" Owen set down his coffee, meeting her eyes directly. "Victoria, I've been trying to find the right way to tell you something. There's no easy way, so I'm just going to say it." He took a breath. "My full name is Owen Julian Sterling. But in business, I use my middle name and my mother's maiden name. I'm Julian Westbrook." The words hit like a physical blow. Victoria stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "No, you're lying, I'm not." His voice remained steady, despite the pain in his eyes. "I was at your family's party to meet you, to see who they expected me to marry. When you hid in my car, I didn't know who you were at first. By the time I realized, you were already telling me about running from Julian Westbrook." From me, Victoria backed away, betrayal flooding through her. "You knew. This whole time you knew I was running from you, and you said nothing. I wanted you to feel safe first. I wanted you to see that I'm not the monster our families are trying to create." Owen stood but kept his distance. "I don't want this arranged marriage either, Victoria. I never did. My company is successful on its own. I don't need your father's merger. Shattered trust. Then why agree to it?" Victoria's voice shook with anger and hurt. "Why go along with their plan?" "Family pressure. My mother's dying wish. 1,000 reasons that seemed important until I met you." Owen's frustration showed through his calm exterior. "I brought you here because I saw someone fighting for freedom, and I wanted to help. Not because of some contract, but because you deserved better." Victoria pressed her hands against her temples, trying to process everything. The man who had sheltered her, taught her, made her feel capable and valued, was the same man she had been running from. How am I supposed to trust anything you've said? Everything we've done here, was it all manipulation? Another way to control me? No. The force in his voice stopped her. Everything I taught you is real. Everything I feel is real. Victoria, I'm trying to show you that we don't have to be pawns in their game. Either of us. She wanted to believe him. The past days had meant something. She knew they had. But the deception cut deep. I need time. I need to think. Owen nodded, pain clear on his face. Take all the time you need. You're still safe here. That hasn't changed. Processing truth, Victoria spent the day alone in her room, emotions churning. Anger at the deception. Confusion about her feelings. Fear about what came next. But underneath it all, a question kept surfacing. Did the lie change what she had learned about herself? Owen had helped her discover strength she did not know she possessed. He had treated her as an equal, taught her to stand up for herself. Those lessons remained true regardless of his identity. And his confession, while painful, showed he could have kept lying but chose honesty instead. By evening, Victoria emerged from her room. Owen sat in the living room, tension evident in his posture. He looked up as she entered, hope and caution mixing in his expression. I'm still angry, Victoria said, standing in the doorway. You should have told me sooner. I know. Ash! But I also understand why you didn't. She moved further into the room. And I believe that you don't want this arranged marriage either. Owen stood slowly. I don't. I never wanted someone chosen for business reasons. I wanted to choose for myself. Victoria met his eyes, seeing her own conflict reflected there. So what do we do now? We can't keep hiding. Eventually both our families will find us. A slow smile crossed Owen's face, the first genuine one since his revelation. Then we stop hiding. We face them together and tell them we're making our own choices. Together? Victoria's heart raced at the implication. If you'll have me, Owen stepped closer. Not as part of some arranged deal, but as equals who choose each other. We fight for our freedom, Victoria. Both of us. She looked at this man who had deceived her, yet also freed her. The path forward was not clear, and trust would take time to rebuild. But the alternative was returning to a life where neither of them had control. Victoria extended her hand. Partners, then? In fighting for our own lives? Owen took her hand, his grip firm and warm. Partners. As their hands clasped, Victoria felt something shift. They were no longer runaway and rescuer, or even victim and deceiver. They were two people choosing to stand together against the expectations that had tried to cage them both. The battle ahead would be difficult, but for the first time, Victoria felt ready to face it. The morning sun painted Owen's estate in gold as Victoria stood before the mirror, preparing for battle. Not a physical one, but something far more challenging, confronting her parents. Owen had spent the previous evening coaching her, reviewing key points, helping her find the words to claim her own life. She wore professional clothes Owen had arranged for her, simple but strong. Her auburn hair pulled back neatly, her emerald eyes clear and determined. The frightened woman who had hidden in a car a week ago felt like a distant memory. Owen appeared in the doorway, dressed in a sharp suit that reminded Victoria he was indeed Julian Westbrook, powerful businessman. But his expression held the warmth of Owen, the man who had taught her to stand tall. Ready? He asked. Victoria took a deep breath. As ready as I'll ever be. They had decided to face her family first, at a neutral location Owen had arranged. A conference room in a downtown hotel, professional and public enough to prevent dramatic scenes. Her parents would expect her to return ashamed and apologetic. Instead, she would arrive with terms, the confrontation. Gregory and Celeste Hayes sat rigid in leather chairs when Victoria and Owen entered. Her father's face flushed red with anger. Her mother's eyes widened with recognition as she looked at Owen. Julian Westbrook, Celeste said, confusion evident. What are you doing with our daughter? Ensuring she's treated with respect, Owen replied calmly, pulling out a chair for Victoria before taking his own seat. Something you failed to do. Gregory slammed his hand on the table. Victoria, this behavior is unacceptable. Disappearing from your own engagement party, worrying your mother sick. Whatever this man has told you, the arrangement stands. You will honor your commitment to this family." Victoria felt the old fear rising, but pushed it down, remembering everything she had learned. "I made no commitment, Father. You did. Without my consent, without my input, without caring what I wanted." "What you want is irrelevant to family obligation," her mother said sharply. "We raised you better than this selfishness." "You raised me to be obedient," Victoria countered, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "To smile and agree while you traded me like property. That ends now." Revealing the truth, Owen leaned forward, his presence commanding attention. "I need to clarify something. I had no intention of going through with this arranged marriage. My company doesn't need your merger, Mr. Hayes. Your business partners misrepresented my interest." Gregory's face paled. "That's impossible. The contract is worthless without my signature, which you don't have." Owen's tone remained professional but firm. "I attended your party out of courtesy to my late mother, who valued old family connections. Nothing more." Celeste looked between them, understanding dawning. "You planned this together. Stole her away to manipulate the situation." "I chose to leave," Victoria said firmly. "Owen helped me, yes, but the choice was mine. Just like what happens next is my choice." Her father stood abruptly. "You ungrateful child? After everything we've provided, every opportunity, every advantage, this is how you repay us?" The words would have broken her a week ago. Now, Victoria stood as well, meeting her father's glare without flinching. "You provided a cage. Beautiful and comfortable, but still a cage. I'm grateful for my education, my upbringing, but I won't sacrifice my life to save your company from bad decisions. Drawing boundaries, your company's financial troubles are not my responsibility," Victoria continued. Feeling Owen's supportive presence beside her, "I will not marry someone I don't choose. I will not sign contracts that benefit you at my expense. Those days are over." Gregory's expression shifted from anger to calculation. "You think you can survive without us? Without family support, family money, family connections? You're nothing on your own?" The cruel words stung, but Owen spoke before Victoria could respond. "She's stronger than you've ever let her be. And she's not alone." Celeste's eyes narrowed. "So you do want to marry her? Just on your terms instead of ours?" "I want her to have a choice," Owen corrected. "What we decide about our relationship is between us, not negotiated by families treating people like business assets." Victoria felt warmth spread through her chest at his words. They had not discussed what came after this confrontation, but his public defense meant everything. "Terms and consequences, here are my terms," Victoria said, reclaiming control of the conversation. "I will maintain a relationship with you both if you respect my autonomy. That means no more arranged marriages, no more decisions made without my input, no more treating me as a solution to your problems. And if we refuse," her father challenged, "then you lose your daughter." The words hurt to say, but Victoria meant them. "I would rather build a life on my own terms than live as your possession." The silence that followed felt heavy. Celeste's carefully composed face showed cracks of genuine emotion for the first time. Gregory sank back into his chair, looking older suddenly. "You would truly cut ties with your family?" Her mother asked quietly. "I don't want to," Victoria admitted, allowing vulnerability to show. "But I will, if that's what it takes to be free. I love you both, but I love myself more than I fear disappointing you." Owen remained silent, letting Victoria handle her family, while his presence provided steady support. This was her battle to win. Unexpected allies, Gregory rubbed his face wearily. "The company is in serious trouble, Victoria. Without the Westbrook merger, we may lose everything." "Then find another solution," Victoria said, her tone softening slightly. "I'll help if I can as your daughter, not as collateral. But I won't be sacrificed to save it." Owen spoke up, surprising everyone. "I'm willing to discuss investment opportunities with Hayes Industries. Not a merger, but a business relationship based on merit, not marriage. If your company has value beyond using your daughter as a bargaining chip, prove it." Gregory looked at Owen with new respect and calculation. "You would do that? If the business case is sound?" "Yes." But Victoria's personal life remained separate from any professional arrangement. Completely separate. Victoria squeezed Owen's hand under the table, grateful for his support while letting her fight her own battle. Moving forward, the meeting ended without full resolution, but with understanding. Her parents needed time to process, to accept that their daughter would no longer follow their script. Victoria left with her head high, knowing she had stood up for herself in ways she'd never imagined possible. Outside the hotel, Owen turned to her. "You were incredible in there. Strong, clear, unshakable." "I was terrified," Victoria admitted. "Bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite it," he smiled, the warmth reaching his eyes. "You proved you don't need me to fight your battles." "But I'm glad you were there," she said honestly. "So what happens now? Between us?" Owen took both her hands, his expression serious but open. "That's entirely up to you, Victoria. I meant what I said in there. You get to choose your own life. If that includes me, I would be honored. If not, I understand." Victoria studied the man before her. He had deceived her initially, yes, but he had also given her tools to become her own person. He had stood beside her without trying to control her. He respected her autonomy, even when it might cost him what he wanted. "I want to see where this goes," she said carefully. "Not as an arranged marriage, not as a rescue and rescued, but as two people choosing each other freely. No pressure, no expectations." Owen asked. "Just possibility," Victoria agreed. He pulled her close, his embrace warm and solid. "I can work with possibility." A new beginning weeks passed as Victoria built her new life. She took business courses, started consulting work helping other young women understand contracts and negotiation. Owen supported her goals while pursuing his own. Their relationship developing naturally, without the weight of family obligation. Her parents eventually came around, slowly accepting their daughter's independence. Gregory even took Owen's investment offers seriously, learning to separate business from personal control. One evening, as Victoria and Owen sat on his porch watching the sunset, she reflected on how much had changed since that desperate night she hid in his car. "Do you ever regret it?" Owen asked, as if reading her thoughts. "Taking that chance?" Victoria smiled, leaning against him. "Not for a second. I regret it took desperation to act, but not the action itself." "Any regrets there?" She turned to face him fully. "We started with deception and desperation, but we built something real, something chosen. So no regrets." Owen kissed her forehead gently. "Good, because I choose you, Victoria Hayes. Every day, I choose you." "And I choose you," she replied, meaning it completely. They sat in comfortable silence as night fell. Two people who had broken free from cages others built, who had found each other in unexpected ways, and who chose daily to build a life based on respect, equality, and genuine love rather than obligation. Victoria had escaped a loveless marriage only to discover the driver was the very man she was running from. But in that twist of fate, they had both found freedom. Not from each other, but with each other. And that made all the difference. Retry UB.